Good afternoon, everyone. It's about 2:40 on the Pacific time zone. Today is December 5th, Tuesday. Hope everybody is well. All three indices doing okay today. NASDAQ was up, and the S&P 500 down slightly. NASDAQ up about 0.3%, 44 points, still within the channel, still moving in, if you will, sideways. I wouldn't necessarily say this is very strong or good price action. It's just been quiet for most parts. The S&P 500, on the other hand, was down slightly. I would just, on the S&P side, I'm just going to call it a flat day, down nearly about 2 points or so. So not a very big move, 0.08% on the S&P 500, 2.6 points down. And then the Dow Jones Industrial Average, if you look at that, had a rough start in the morning. It was down actually nearly close to about 200 points or so, and then moved all the way back up to regain. Look at the daily chart, just to give you a little bit of context. So it ended the day down about 0.2%, but it started out really touching a little bit of a low of 36,000. So this is down about 100 points and then made it up quite back again to a reasonable size. So that was not bad. One of the stocks that showed up on my radar is a small company called ALKT, or the ticker symbol is ALKT. Alkami Technologies is the name of the company. What Alkami Technology does is it's a software company. So what they provide is technology for being able to provide credit unions and also banking organizations, order management, mobile banking, contract management, things of that nature. Small cap company, about actually mid cap is what I call it, $2.28 billion in market cap. I'm going to go through the 5-step process. Let's see what we get. I almost always, as I said, start with the fundamentals. Let's look at what the financials look like for this company. We start with the income statement on an annualized basis first. The company has been, as I said, public for a relatively short period of time. 2019 financials are available. So on an annualized basis, the company has gone from $73 million in revenue to about $204 million. So roughly about 3 times in the last 4 years, 3x growth in revenue, which is a good sign, not terrific, but good. It went from roughly about 50% growth year over year to 35% to 34%. This year, based on this, it looks about 25 to 30% growth. So it'll end up probably in the year ending at about $750 to $760 million, which is about 30 to 40% growth. Gross profit in the 50-60% range as well, 50%, a little less than a 50% range, or a little more than a 50% range. And the company is not making money. It's actually losing money. It was losing about 40 million. It's been about flat. So it's not really made a lot of progress in terms of its profitability. Let's go to the quarterly statement just to get a little bit of a better sense. There you see it's gone from 30% growth down about mid 20% growth to 25% growth. Not necessarily great, but still it's better than a lot of the other companies, given that it's small. So it's going to do about $250 million in revenue. And as I said, about a little over 50% gross income or gross margins, and negative 20% net margins. Okay, so this is a little bit of a challenge, nearly 20% negative margins, but I'm hoping they have the cash to be able to cover their losses. Balance sheet, go to an annualized basis, they have 50 million, now what, 500 million. How much about that in terms of assets? Current assets, about half of that, which is what really matters. And I suspect a lot of it is in goodwill as well. Non-current assets, none of it is in goodwill. It's not a good sign, but it's okay. So they have enough assets to be able to cover their debt, which is about another 24 million. Going to a quarterly basis, they've increased their debt, gone from about 20 million to about 100 million in debt. And let's look at their growth in assets in the meanwhile. Yeah, so their intangible assets, primarily comprising of goodwill, is about 140 million out of that 400 million. So not terrific, but good. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give this probably a 7. It's growing at 26% revenues, which is good, 26% quarter over quarter. It's going to hit about 250 million mark. It's almost about 7 to 9 times, if you look at it from a valuation perspective, about 8.6, 7 to 9, 6.97 times. For 20%, 25% growth, that's okay. Not terrific. I want to be able to see if they can get to the profitability stage fairly quickly, but still, they're not exactly a super growth company. They still seem to be okay. Gross margins in the 50%, net margins, obviously a little bit of a shocker in the 20%, but they're still going to be okay overall, I would assume. The reason why they showed up, let's start looking at that. So they went public in the 2021 timeframe. This is probably during the COVID era. Stage 4 decline. and a good base, and it's just breaking out of the base. So that's one of the reasons why. Look at that beautiful base. It's the base all the way from here to roughly about here would be the base. Very nice base has been built. So where is it? In the first channel, the longer term channel is this one. On the monthly chart, this is the longer term channel. So you can probably adjust it a little bit later, but this would be the long-term channel for it. It's gone over this very critical $20 mark as a resistance. So I'm going to draw a few support and resistance at a very high level. Looks like the next big support or resistance for it is definitely going to be the $28 mark. That's pretty high from where it is right now. That's almost a 25% gain. So that's one of the key resistances. Let's look at the support. It's tough to make out, but let's put it at the 17 and then we'll adjust it. Let's go to the weekly chart to find what we're going to see on the weekly chart. So long term, I've drawn the monthly chart. I've drawn the channel. On the monthly channel, heading up and to the right a little bit. Yeah, that doesn't seem like a bad channel. And it seems to be continuing. And even in fact, in the short-term channel within that, we're going to adjust a little bit. You can see this channel also is up. It's very nice couple of months where it's building the movement up. This is a very strong sign. Very, very good sign for Alkali. 28 seems like a definite target. Before that, there might be some places. No, I think 28 is where it wants to go. Let's look at where it might have a lot of people buying just to get a little bit of a better sense. We look at the volume profile. Volume profile is a good way to seek it. A lot of people buying at 23, 22, probably the good set of people buying into this. It's not going to move very, very quickly, but this looks like 24 to 28 seems like a logical move. We'll take a little bit of time. This is not a stock that jumps up in a day or two. 25% move in a year wouldn't be too bad. So give it a few weeks for it to be able to move slightly up in the channel to 26 and then slowly make it even the way. So March, if you look at the projected decimal out, March is when it's likely to get to the 28 range if the market holds good and all of that stuff. Okay, so let's go to the daily chart now to see what we find on the daily chart. So the daily chart is going to show us for the year. It's hitting new highs for the year. This was the new high for the year. It hit somewhere in the 19-20 range in October, and since then it's been just moving up and to the right. Lots of buying at the 22 range, as you can see from the volume profile. That's a good sign. But this has a very good flag today. This is a strong flag, 5% today. It's going to consolidate a little bit, moving within the channel. I like the sectional movement of this. There doesn't seem to be any big challenges for it all the way to 28. I like the stock. I'll probably go in and enter a trade somewhere in the 23, 22 range and then move up to 28. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys appreciate this video. And if you have any comments, drop me a note. I'd love to be able to answer questions, understand why and how I think through these things, and hear from you guys.